Hello, everybody. Today we are talking about an important subject. Not super important, but important to me. Probably important to other people who are coping right now. But our favorite goth person in Star Wars recently, Rook Kast, has recently met her apparent end off-screen to Vader, which sucks. For a lot of people, they just thought she's going to have a lot more to do, but I'm going to try to prove to you that she's alive, alright? And, anyways. Let's just start with the fact that it was a disrespectful death. If it was a death, I don't know why they brought a character like her back from the Clone Wars just to kill her like that, okay? She had 3 friendly Force users 5 feet away from her that she was clearly telling there was somebody in the woods, and these people just got done fighting Inquisitors, so there is no way they don't know the Force is currently in play. And you're telling me that not one of these people tried to Force grab her back and tried to Force throw a lightsaber into the fog to get whoever was doing it? And hell, Vader could have still did his walkout and everything, you know? And I know people saying that Vader would have beat them all in the Force tug of war, and yeah, he probably would. And it probably would have killed Cass that way. Or, she would start getting torn apart, and they would see that, so someone would shoot a gun or something, or do something to distract Vader. I'm just saying it's possible. But anyways, ignoring the fact that there was 3 people standing right next to her. Ignoring that, she got muscle manned. Like, she actually got the muscle man death. You can't tell me that's a cool way to go out. She got muscle manned. It's all left up to the imagination. And what's not left up to the imagination is people trusting articles and thinking that they're canon. And I understand why people want to do that, because of the actress herself says something. It's probably, at least, they might believe that. But I'm just saying, it's not rare for actors or actresses to be misled when it comes to their characters' fates. It's pretty normal, actually. Not to mention, it's also just not canonical. If it's not on screen, it's not canonical. But I think that's a problem with Disney Star Wars in general, is that they have so many off-screen deaths and leave so much up in the air that everyone has to go to articles and stuff to fill in what they think is the canon. Anyways, I digress. We're going to move on to another point, which is, still on the disrespectful death point. Everyone else in the episode got a really cool focus of their death. I was upset that Spybot fell in the acid because I was like, no, they can't repair him. Why'd they have to do him that dirty? And then Rook comes on screen and they do her even dirtier. It was tragic. I just don't understand why they did that. But anyways, to my point about her being alive. She screams after the crunch. No matter which way you cut it, regardless if it was a neck snap, a force choke, her lungs being torn out of her throat like everyone claims because of the article, you can't scream without lungs or with a neck snap, or if you're being... And, there was no choking indicator there. She never, coughed or, did any gargling noise or anything like that. There was no, she's being choked out sound. It was a yell. An actual, just loud yell. Now, I've also seen the noise they used is the same noise that they used for the throat crunch sound in one of the original, 3 movies.
Where are those transmissions you intercepted? What have you done with those plans?
We intercepted no transmissions. This is a consular ship. We're on a diplomatic mission.
If this is a consular ship, where is the ambassador?
Someone is out there.
And I'm not 100% sure of that, but I could believe it. Does that change much? I don't think so, because it still doesn't line up with her yelling sound. And not to mention the original force choke sound is like walnuts anyway, so, or something like that. They can use a sound like that for multiple things. But if they're trying to mislead you, they would tell you that was a force choke. They would tell you that was whatever. And they said the animators asked how she wanted to die. And she said she wanted her lungs to be torn out of her throat or something like that. And, that's exactly what happened, is what the article says. How do we know that's exactly what happened? Because an article said it? What happened on screen is she got dragged off screen. We heard a crunch sound and then she yelled, and that doesn't line up with what the article is trying to tell us happened. And yeah, when you really think about it too, it's an animation team asking her how she wanted to die, but then for it not to be animated, why does it matter if the animation team asked her how she wanted to die? If it, it just, maybe I'm getting that detail wrong, maybe I'm not, I don't know. Now, hear me out on this. I think she's alive. I think it would be a better story if she is alive. And this is my trump card, really, is that it's good writing if she is alive. Even though I hate the fake outs that Disney does, and Disney does this a lot, and it is bad writing, but I think because Disney does it a lot. But this would be a case where I think it would be good writing. Because her entire character arc, not even arc, right, because she doesn't really get an arc. She's never afforded that. Her entire character arc is loyalty to Maul. So, I can imagine two things happening. Either A, she gets captured by the Empire, like she has broken legs. She broke something, regardless of how you put it, something broke, then she screamed. I'm just saying she was given the ability to scream after whatever broke, so obviously it didn't kill her. So, she's captured by the Empire, broken legs, loyalty test to Maul. They turn her into a Crosshair type of villain, and, she's like the anti-Maul now, she's like the anti-Maul DeLorean. I think that would be cool. And also the leg thing, it would just be like a parallel to Maul. Option 2, she survives, doesn't get captured by the Empire, somehow crawls out of the woods next season, or a season after that or something. This show has already been shown to do fake outs and stuff, by the way. I would like everyone to remember when Maul brought the cave down on the Inquisitors, that the Inquisitors ran out and it kind of looked like Maul was being crushed, but then the next episode starts and it shows that Maul, like an alternative version of events where Maul actually started running somehow right before that. And that's not the only time either, because when Maul's remembering Savage Opress and the flashbacks and everything, he kind of remembers the lines differently. He says something about, you will have your revenge or something like that, when that's not what Savage said at all. So we're already being shown that this show is doing alternative versions of events as fake outs, or as, plot points. So anyways, yeah, the second one is, what if Rook Kast comes out of the woods with broken legs next season, and she gets back to Maul, and now she's like a more human version of Maul, she doesn't have the Force, but she's if Maul was a sorcerer in D&D, now she's like a ranger or a paladin that's roughly based on a sorcerer, you know what I mean? Yeah, I just think it would be way better if she is actually alive. I just don't understand why they disrespected her that much. They brought this character back from the Clone Wars, which, by the way, all of her coolest scenes are probably in the Clone Wars, because she was never given anything cool to do in this show, really. I mean, there was a few cool things near the beginning, I believe, but every single cool thing she does is a slight moment in passing. She never got a cool final stand like the random Zabrak guys that got added into this season. She never got given a tragic, master line when, Spybot gets killed and falls into the acid. She was actually just killed like Muscle Man. So, yeah, I don't know. I just don't think it's right that she's dead. I think it's a waste of a character. She was the only character they brought back from The Mandalorian. Or, not The Mandalorian, Clone Wars Season 7. Oh. I will be back. Okay. I have returned. So, I don't even know where I was at. Yeah, basically just her death was... It was unfortunately not needed. And another point I would like to think about is literally Vario is right there. So was another Mandalorian that went in the woods with her. So was Two Boots. So was Lawson. So was Lawson's son. These were all relatively unimportant characters. Maybe you could say not so much about Lawson, but no one would have been upset if Vario was the one that was dragged into the woods and had something unimaginable happen to him. But this is kind of like what they did with Cad Bane, where they introduce him in the Book of Boba Fett, just to finish him off as soon as he enters live action. And like, it's not exactly the same thing, but Rook was literally, Rook was literally a character that would have never been she would have never had any moments to shine if not for Maul getting a show. Maul gets a show, they kill her by the end of the first season. And what's even worse is they show no respect towards her. Like, she never gets the moment that all the other ones do. And now you just gotta imagine her lying in the woods with her lungs hanging out of her mouth, or, you know, plastered all over the inside of her helmet, or some other horrible scene or something. And everyone's running around going with that narrative, and they're either saying force choke or lungs out of the mouth, but like, if you use your head for a second, you'd realize you need your lungs to scream. You literally need your lungs to scream. And I'm just saying, red herring, I want her to be alive. I thought they were going to bring Tech back, and they didn't. Like, at least as like one of those troopers. And for all I know, he could have been one of those evil dark troopers at the end of Bad Batch. But they never confirm it. And that's Disney's issue, is that they never confirm anything. If I had a nickel, if I had a penny for every character that died off screen somehow in Star Wars, like they were thrown off a cliff, or they got thrown out a window, or thrown down a vat, or you know, bursts into green dust and comes back later, or like, it's actually insane. Plo Koon, you see him die in a fiery explosion, so you technically don't see the body. Mace Windu thrown out of a window. The Emperor throws down a reactor chute. Sabine is literally stabbed, survives. And also, one more point, and this one is the one that irks me the most, because everyone is going around saying that Vader is a horror movie villain and he wouldn't leave survivors, and it's not like him to leave anyone alive, and she's definitely like a mangled corpse in the woods. And like, I've heard people say that this is him at his maddest too, so this is why he wouldn't let anybody survive. On Order 66, he let Reva survive, and she was a child. And then, later in his life, when he was chasing Obi-Wan, his most hated rival, he let Reva survive again, and it was when she was, spoiler alert, another one. Sorry for all that, sorry. But like, she let, you know, she was an Inquisitor, and she betrayed him. He would have all the reason to rip her lungs out and to make sure she doesn't survive. But no, he just stabs her, and then she survives. She even gets to try and kill his son after. And in that same show, his most hated enemy, Obi-Wan, gets simply buried. Buried. Just by rocks. Like, Vader just buries him with rocks and then is content to walk away and leave without checking for the corpse of his most hated rival. You know, come to think of it, I can't think of any named characters other than Obi-Wan and the Emperor that Vader is responsible for killing. And, like, they're usually just minions, and I honest to God feel like ever since Andor, they've been trying to chase the aura of the hallway scene. And I think they should. I think that they need that. I just don't think they should be wasting named characters. And I know that, like, she's basically a Glub Shido character, if you really think about it. I mean, she's not exactly, because I imagine a Glub Shido character would be like, you know, like some Jabba the Hutt looking side character that is somebody's fan favorite for some reason. But, like, they're not going to be making action figures of someone like Vario. They're going to be making action figures of someone like Rook Kast because she's got the cool character design. But, like, yeah, Star Wars has a problem with doing these off-screen ambiguous things and then making people go rely on articles to figure out what's canon. Articles. I said that like RFK. But, yeah. I really liked Maul overall. I thought it was a really good show. I understand the complaint that it might feel like a big chase sequence, but like I thought they were doing good, showing characters have little moments and stuff. I thought it was all feeling like it was going somewhere. And I liked that they were introducing new characters because you can't lie, most of the characters that are in the show are already known. So, like, we already know how they die most of the time. But yeah, we got new characters, and we even got like old characters that I thought were gonna be able to have like a little bit of like a glow up in terms of their characters or their stories or something, like Rook for instance. Merrick is a perfect example of a character they brought back. And, like, I'm still interested in what happens to him, because when the thing happens, another spoiler alert, when the thing happens in Ahsoka and he bursts into green smoke, you know, that kind of implies he's died before, so I want to see how he dies the first time. So that's, like, something I'm interested in. I'm worried about him, but, like, I'm liking the little mannerisms they're doing with him, where he, like, inspects the stormtrooper's helmet a little bit, sorry, the TK trooper, whatever they're called. And, you know, he does the head tilt when he finds Lawson's apartment and, like, finds them, and he's like, Jedi. And then he just, you know, head tilts and walks in. I like it all the Inquisitor stuff is, like, really cool. It just really sucks when you think about the fact that most of the characters we're watching in the show already have confirmed or canonical deaths. And the ones that don't have confirmed or canonical deaths, they just all killed off. So one of our characters with a canonical death can get another character as his apprentice. And, a lot of these characters didn't even need to be killed off for that reason, but I don't know, it's really silly when you think about it. And I thought a lot of the show was doing, like, Maul character work, you know, showing that, like, I'll never let this happen to anyone again. You know, he won't hurt anyone else. You know, and he was like, Kenobi, you know, all that other stuff, but sorry, I was kind of getting off track there. It's Maul is literally a villain who everyone is coming around to, even though he's killed kids. Same with Darth Vader. Do with that what you will. But I thought it was cool that the show was showing Maul had softer sides. Like, for instance, just before Rook died, there was the whole scene with them getting across the acid. An Inquisitor turned his attention to Rook, and she nearly got pushed into the acid. And then Maul is, like, really yelling at her to go. And I was like, oh, I'm glad that they're showing that, because that shows how much he cares about that character. That shows that. And then Spybot has the whole thing happen, you know, he dies. You know, I like that little moment where they show Maul, like, he's like, ah, you know, because his robot just died. And it was a sad death. And he kind of had a similar moment like that for each of the Zabraks. But then as soon as Rook gets dragged away in the most disrespectful, like, you know, she didn't even have her gun on her, by the way. She dropped her gun. They couldn't even give her that. So this is what I mean when I'm, like, it is animation. Most details are pretty important and, like, intentional. They have to go through and add everything. It's not like anything is there by default for the most part. So the fact that she screams after the crunch, she's got to be alive. Otherwise, they actually just murdered the character for no reason. Like, murder. And yeah, you could say, it's Vader, that's what he does. No, he doesn't. They try to make that recently because that's what they know. Like, everyone wants the rated R Vader movie. But, like, when Vader's on screen, yeah, he's a slasher villain. And I think that's how he should be. But he's not going around just murdering cool side characters all the time. He's going around killing minions all the time. I'm coping. I am coping hard. Okay? I don't even, like I said, I liked the show. I liked all the characters a lot, and I really liked all the side characters. And when they started killing off all the side characters, I was, like, getting sad for each one, and I was like, hey, at least he had a badass death. Fuck, why'd they do that? They did the robot so dirty, you know? But then, yeah. Yeah. Rook Kast is alive. It makes more sense if she's alive. Alright, right before I end my discussion on this, I wanted to circle back and look at these, because I was wanting to make sure, double check the whole line I said about it was the animation team that asked it. So the article everybody's been sharing is this last one right here. It's this one. It's currently on screen. And it does say the animation team. I don't know if this is like a reliable source or anything. You know, I don't know who Luke's Outpost is. Luke's Outpost. But it does say right here, her answer, she wanted Darth Vader to rip her lungs out of her mouth using the Force, and that's exactly what happened. However, you know, we've already confirmed that's not a sound effect that has been traditionally used for lungs being ripped out of someone's throat. Not to mention, you know, once again, you can't scream. But I found these other article things on Star Wars' official site saying Earlier drafts of the script featured a more graphic death for Rook, but it was ultimately decided that having her pulled into the darkness of the fog before Vader ignites his saber served as a better introduction for the Dark Lord. So obviously, her entire death was just for Vader, but like, you know, this gives me a little bit of hope, because it's saying they had a more graphic death in mind, but it was ultimately decided that this would be a better introduction. Which means that stuff that the animation team was asking about literally didn't happen anyways, because they decided whatever the other graphic death was, this was the better option. And finally here, and the same thing on the Star Wars site, it says that she told the assembled crew, so maybe that's what the other guy meant when he said animation team, I'm not sure. But she said she told the assembled crew she was aiming for, he pulled my lungs out of my throat. And then blah blah, to add the effect, they added the classic crush effect. So I'm not sure if this actually means that she thinks that she had her lungs pulled out, or if just the guy who posted the article thinks she had her lungs pulled out, or if that's just what she was going for with the scream. But I just know none of it adds up sound-wise, and I don't think it adds up as like a good, respectful way to handle the character either. Honestly, I think these articles are the biggest proof we have that she might still be alive, because yeah, it literally says that she was going to have a more graphic death, but they decided to just pull her into the darkness. So anyways, I guess I'll see y'all later. Thanks for sticking around. Sorry I've kind of like reiterated the same things a bunch of times, but yeah, just decided I wanted to get this out as quick as I could, so here's what you get. Adios.